Hey, Rob here for Quadratec.com. Today we're going to show you how to properly apply the three-step rust stopping finishing system from POR-15. Now, if you're looking for a permanent solution to prevent rust from forming on new metal or to stop existing rust permanently, then POR-15's Rust Preventive Coating is exactly what you need. Now, it's a high-performance coating that's been designed to be applied directly onto prepped rusted or seasoned metal surfaces. It's non-porous, so it will seal and protect whatever surface it's applied to from water, chemicals, salt, as well as many other corrosive contaminants. Now let's talk about rust for just a moment. Rust is caused by moisture coming in contact with metal, which causes a chemical action called oxidation. Now, while all paints will provide some protection for a while, it's only a matter of time before moisture softens the paint and penetrates the surface, attacking the metal below. And that's where POR-15 is different. The secret to their rust preventative coating is actually in the curing process. Now, while most paints dry through evaporation, POR-15 dries faster when moisture is present, and it's actually strengthened by exposure to moisture. Now, you combine that with its incredible hardness, toughness, and flexibility, and you have a coating that's practically indestructible. Now, POR-15 Rust Preventative Coating is a permanent rust repair that's great for Jeep frames and chassis restoration, as well as protecting other valuable equipment against rust and corrosion. Now, I mentioned earlier that POR-15's system is actually a three-step process, and just as with all paint projects, preparation is key. And that's why POR-15 offers their industrial strength cleaner and degreaser, as well as their metal prep, which is a rust neutralizer and pre-primer. Now, the first step is to use the cleaner to remove any contaminants from the surface that you'll be painting. And then you'll follow that up with metal prep to neutralize any existing rust and gently etch clean bare metal while simultaneously leaving a protective zinc phosphate film, creating the ideal surface to apply POR-15 coatings. Now, the rust preventative coating itself is sensitive to UV light, and over time, if it's continually exposed to sunlight, POR-15 will eventually break down. So after applying the rust preventative coating, it's important that you finish it off with any number of top coat products that POR-15 offers. Now today, we're going to show you the proper steps for applying the three-step rust preventative coating. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not only great for restoration projects, but it's also perfect for protecting new parts on your Jeep as well. Now, we picked a pretty common project that we think most Jeep owners will do at some point. So we've got a new gas tank skid plate from JCR Off-Road that's still in its bare metal unfinished state. We'll be installing this on Project XJ soon, but first we need to protect it. And we all know that a skid plate has to stand up to some pretty tough abuse, and that makes POR-15 the perfect coating to keep our skid plate rust-free for years to come. Now, why don't we head outside so we can get started on our project. The first step is to use the POR-15 cleaner and degreaser to remove any contaminants from the project. It's a good idea to wear gloves not only to protect your hands, but also to protect you from transferring any grease or contaminants from your hands back onto your work surface. After letting the cleaner sit on the skid plate for a few minutes, simply rinse it off with clean water. Next, we'll apply the metal prep liberally onto the project surface. Unlike the cleaner, you don't want to let the metal prep dry on the surface. Instead, you need to keep the project wet for about 10 to 15 minutes, so you'll want to reapply as necessary. Metal prep will remove any traces of rust on the surface, as well as leave a zinc phosphate coating behind and gently etch the surface, leaving it ready for the POR-15 coating. After 10 to 15 minutes, we can rinse the metal ready off with clean water from the hose. Now, we went ahead and we got our skid plate all prepped with the metal ready, got it rinsed off, and we've allowed it to thoroughly dry. So we're ready to go ahead and begin applying the POR-15 Rust Preventative Coating. Now, like I mentioned earlier, what makes this different than other paints on the market is how it cures. With that said, when you're using the paint, you don't want to leave the can open, because as moisture starts to get into that, it'll actually start it to cure and it'll cause the rest of your can to go bad. So what you want to do is open this up. I like to grab one of these little mixing containers, dump out the paint that I'll be using, and then quickly reseal it to keep it fresh for later. We can go ahead and start painting our skid plate. Now when applying the POR-15 Rust Preventive Coating, it's important that you want to make sure you do 2 light coats rather than 1 heavy coat to allow the product to fully cure. And because the POR-15 is self-leveling, it's actually really easy to work with. And you can use a brush to apply it or a roller even, and it'll lay itself out nice and smooth for you, giving you a great finished look. Now we went ahead and let that first coat dry for about 2 hours. And you can tell when your project's ready for a second coat by taking your finger and lightly dragging it across the surface of your project. You can see there's no paint left on my finger, but the surface is slightly tacky, so we know we're ready to go ahead and put that second coat on. Get my gloves on and get to it. So we went ahead and we let that second coat set up on our project now. Again, just like with the first coat, you can check that by doing a quick finger drag across the paint. Nothing sticks to your finger, you know it's dry and it's ready for another coat. Now, like I mentioned earlier, because POR-15 is not UV stable, you do need to top coat that POR-15 to make sure that it doesn't break down over time. Now, POR-15 has a wide range of different aerosol top coats, as well as their 2K urethane top coat, which is actually what we're gonna be using to coat this gas tank skid plate. Now, this is a 2-part urethane. It actually has an activator that we need to mix in. So we're gonna go ahead and get this opened up, get it mixed up so we can get it on the skid plate. We went ahead and we let that 2K urethane top coat cure overnight, and what we're left with now is a great looking, ultra durable finish that's sure to keep this JCR fuel tank skid plate looking great for years to come underneath of Project Cherokon. Now, if you want to find out more or purchase any of the great POR-15 products we used in today's video, you can click on the info button to head over to Quadratec.com. And if you have any questions about your own POR-15 projects or what we did here today, well, you can leave those in the comments for us below or contact us directly at any of the options you see on the screen. And if you want to find out more about Project Cherokon or any of the other great employee buildups we've got going on here at Quadratec, you can find those over in the employee buildup section of the website. And as always, you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the great videos we have here for you. Until next time, I'm Rob. I'll see you out on the trail.